Battle of Saratoga, 1777. A crucial victory for the Patriots during the American Revolution and is considered the turning point of the Revolutionary War. The battle was convinced France to enter the war against Britain, boosting morale of Washington's Continental Army and providing much-needed supplies and support. Battle of Yorktown, 1781. A decisive victory by a combined force of American Continental Army led by General George Washington and French Army, proved to be the last major land battle of the American Revolutionary War in North America, as the surrender by Cornwallis and the capture of both him and his army prompted the British government to negotiate an end to the conflict. Articles of Confederation take effect, 1781. Served as the written document that established the functions of the national government of the United States after it declared independence from Great Britain. It established a weak central government. Treaty of Paris, 1783. A negotiation between the United States and Great Britain that ended the Revolutionary War and recognized American independence. Northwest Ordinance, 1787. The Act of Congress in 1787 providing for the government of the Northwest Territory and setting forth the steps by which its territories might become states. Constitutional Convention, 1787. The convention in Philadelphia of representatives from each of the former colonies, except Rhode Island, at which the Constitution of the United States was framed. Thomas Jefferson, author of the Declaration of Independence, Anti-Federalist, spoke against a strong federal government and instead advocated states' rights. George Washington, 1732–99, first President of the United States, Commander-in-Chief of the Continental Army in the American Revolution, called the Father of his country, presiding over the Constitutional Convention in 1787. Marquis de Lafayette, French aristocrat general in the American Revolutionary War. Alexander Hamilton, first Secretary of Treasury under George Washington, along with James Madison and John Jay. He wrote the Federalist Papers, letters to New York newspapers designed to convince the people in that state to ratify the Constitution. Benjamin Franklin, statesman, publisher, inventor, and patriot known for writing Poor Richard's Almanac, keeping France on the side of America during the Revolutionary War, and inventing all kinds of useful things, including bifocal glasses and the lightning rod. His last great deed was serving as a delegate to the Constitutional Convention. James Madison. The President called the father of the Constitution. He is considered the most influential contributor to the United States Constitution, and he worked vigorously to see it ratified. Patrick Henry. Constitutional Convention, but afterward emerged as a strong opponent to federalism and helped secure the first 10 amendments to the Constitution, known for his quote, "Give me liberty or give me death." John Jay created the Jay Treaty when resolving conflicts with England over U.S. territories. Hessians. A Hessian soldier in any of the mercenary units of the British Army in the War of American Independence. Virginia Plan. A plan proposed at the Constitutional Convention, providing for a legislature of 2 houses with proportional representation in each house and executive and judicial branches to be chosen by the legislature. New Jersey Plan. A plan proposed at the Constitutional Convention, providing for a single legislative house with equal representation for each state. Great Compromise. The Connecticut Compromise, also known as the Great Compromise of 1787 or Sherman's Compromise, was an agreement between large and small states reached during the Philadelphia Convention of 1787 that, in part, defined the legislative structure and representation that each state would have under the United States Constitution. It proposed a bicameral legislature, resulting in the current United States Senate and House of Representatives. Three-fifths Compromise. A compromise between southern and northern states reached during the Philadelphia Convention of 1787, in which 3/5 of the population of slaves would be counted for representation and tax purposes. States' rights. The rights belonging to the various states, especially with reference to the strict interpretation of the Constitution, by which all rights not delegated by the Constitution to the federal government belong to the states. Three branches of government: executive, judicial, legislative. Federalists. Nationalists who believed that the Constitution was required in order to safeguard the liberty and independence that the American Revolution had created. Articles of Confederation. This document, the nation's first constitution, was adopted by the Second Continental Congress in 1781. During the Revolution, the document was limited because states held most of the power, and Congress lacked the power to tax, regulate trade, or control coinage. Shay's Rebellion. Rebellion by farmers in Massachusetts. Farmers put in prison for failure to pay taxes on their property. Rebellion led to reforms, the need for a strong national government. Rhode Island, only state not to attend the convention. Philadelphia, city where the Constitutional Convention met, May 1787. George Washington presided over the convention. Constitutional Convention 1787 in Philadelphia, intended to revise the AOC, but creates new U.S. Constitution. Northwest Ordinance, part of Articles of Confederation, created process for establishing territories and creating states. In the West, banned slavery in the new territory. Federalism, the division, share of power between the national and state governments. Popular sovereignty, the people are the source of the government's power. Bill of Rights, the first 10 amendments to the Constitution that outlined the rights of the people. Congress, the word used to describe both the House of Representatives and the Senate. Anti-Federalists were worried that the Constitution did not have a Bill of Rights or gave too much power to the national government, opposed to the Constitution. Federalists Papers, collection of writings about why states should ratify the Constitution. James Madison, considered the father of the Constitution. Separation of powers. Government's power is divided between 3 branches of government. Checks and balances. System designed to keep any one branch of government from becoming too powerful. Limited government. Idea that government is not all-powerful, it is limited by the people and by the Constitution. Implied powers. Powers that are not actually expressed in the Constitution but are reasonably implied, necessary, and proper. Preamble. Introduction to the U.S. Constitution. The power of the government begins with the people. Amendments. Changes to the Constitution. 27 amendments have been made. Legislative branch. The lawmaking branch. Executive branch. The branch that carries out the laws. Judicial branch. The branch that interprets the laws. Electoral College. a group of people who would be named by each state legislature to select the president and vice president. Federalists, supporters of the Constitution. Federalism, a form of government in which power is divided between the federal, or national, government and the states. Anti-Federalists, those who opposed the Constitution. Preamble, the opening section of the Constitution that tells why it was written. Amendment, any change in the Constitution. Bill of Rights, the first 10 amendments. Income tax, a tax on people's earnings. Popular sovereignty, power lies within the people to make decisions. Rule of law, the law applies to everyone, even those who govern. Separation of powers, the split of authority among the legislative, executive, and judicial branches. Checks and balances, a system in which each branch of government is able to check, or restrain, the power of the others, so that one cannot become too powerful. Enumerated powers, the powers specifically granted to the national government. Reserved powers, powers that the Constitution does not give the national government and are now kept by the states. Concurrent powers, powers that both levels of government can exercise. First, freedom of religion, speech, press, assembly, and petition. Second, right to bear arms. Fifth, no self-incrimination, no double jeopardy, no deprivation of life, liberty, or property without due process of law. 13th, abolishment of slavery. 15th, right to vote for African Americans. 18th, prohibition of alcohol beverages. 19th, women's suffrage, gave women the right to vote. 21st, Repeal of Prohibition Amendment. 26th, 18-year-old voting age.